In life, ladies and gentlemen, there are only two absolutes. We are born and we die. Everything else in the middle is completely vice. But it's not completely vice now, is it? A lot of things are very dependent on how vice or how versatile our lives can truly turn out to be. Think of this, ladies and gentlemen. Time, place, situation, parents, and the future. And of these, they are important in this order, with the future a bad last. And the reason why the future is often something as a bad last, ladies and gentlemen, is because we may be born, but that does not necessarily mean we know exactly how long we are going to live for. It's always one of the it's probably for one of the reasons why I've like subconsciously made the decision, unless things change, that if I get to the age of 40 and I still don't have any children, then I'm not even going to try after that. So that means I've basically got the best part of 15 years to decide or to even act upon if I actually do want children. That's a little bit easier said than done, ladies and gentlemen, because the first and foremost part of this process is to have a partner of my own in which we can produce our spouse. That could be much easier ways of saying it than that. But oftentimes I do think to myself, is this the right sort of world that I would want to bring children into? I mean, I've been alive for nearly a quarter of a century, and trust me, there are a lot of things that you go through in 24 years, but you don't necessarily wish other people went through it. So I've always argued that struggling and fighting against innumerable odds are sort of just part of the process for the very, very successful people. They've had to, at one point, go through very difficult times and struggled and worked hard, and who knows, maybe it was a lucky break or, again, happened to be the right place at the right time, is how their lives turn out to be the way they are. But again, just because that might happen or might not, it doesn't mean it's, whatever's good for the goose is good for the gander. And in my case, ladies and gentlemen, well, I'll tell you what, it's one thing to also be brought into this world to, go through things like, hunger, hardship, or disappointment. But then I've got to ask myself the question, am I even capable of doing such a thing? Because being a parent is a lifetime responsibility. And I'm not saying that I'm not capable of responsibility, ladies and gentlemen, far from it. But what I am trying to say is, am I capable now, first of all, of actually looking after myself before I can even think about looking after not only myself, but also my own flesh and blood? I mean, even as I speak right now, there are some people I know all the way back from school who are about to become parents. There are some people who are even posing the question themselves about whether or not they would ever want to become parents. And again, but I also want to emphasize something very, very important, ladies and gentlemen, is that at no point you should ever think of yourself less or think of yourself as anything more important if you have kids or not. Having kids, producing offspring is, well, it's one of the things that living organisms can do. But I'm sure you've all heard of the old adage, ladies and gentlemen, just because you can does not mean you should. And it's a lot more than just saying that you have an offspring, that you have a family. Those things are just words, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said, a lifetime responsibility, and you've got to be ready to be with your children every step of the way. And I don't know too much about, being a father figure or even being really a role model myself, but like I said many, many times before, even in the most difficult and the most awkward situations in my life, has never once inhibited my ability to try. And that is my thought for the day. Thank you.